The internet has spoken and people are angry about your email. Let's talk about that. Welcome back to PhD Coffee Time. This is the online community for you as PhD student to get motivation, peer support, and practical tips during your PhD. I was on Twitter and I've seen a post by Anne, and she talked about these pet peeves she has about emails. I then have written to the rest of the academic community and asked their advice on what are the best practice on writing emails. Because to be honest, I could have done a lot of this mistake myself without knowing, and PhD relationship is the biggest barrier to science oftentimes. There are often project management struggle and people communication that are holding up your science. So today I hope to take a closer look into how you can become a more effective email writer, according to all these nice people who have replied to my tweet. If you like this type of content, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and the bell down below so that you won't miss anything that's coming up next. You may wonder, why is professional email etiquette important at all? You're just a PhD student, all you should care about is the science, right? This is you. Every email when you're writing is a connection between you and your advisor, your collaborator, and your students. In every email, it should be a concise and effective summary of your work progress, challenges, sharing resources, and information. And if you write it with professionalism in mind, you are creating a work environment that is trusting, respectful, constructive, and thoughtful. In the end, if the people working with you can sense these qualities, you are earning freedom, you can reduce conflicts between people, and enjoy a greater productivity in your project altogether. Who doesn't want to graduate a PhD sooner, right? The first tip is, do not use reply all unless you mean it. Unless you really want everyone to see it. Be thoughtful about it, because sometimes you receive an email with the whole department on the list and you don't want to just hit reply all. It bothers everyone and it's not really meant for them. But confession, in the older days, I used to assume writing emails and replying to everybody was a way to demonstrate I was making progress. I think that is a lot of imposter syndrome associated with PhD students. There is a better way to effectively communicate projects and milestones that I've later learned. So if you want to learn about that project milestone communication, I have videos made for that. So according to Talia's response, it seems like there is also a time you want to reply also to be inclusive to everyone. So I think the importance is you need to know your team and know what's the expectation on the replying strategy, and discuss whether or not the advisor cares to know this conversation or not. Next is email title. Sometimes people don't write email title, or they just use very uninformative email title, or they don't bother changing email titles if they are forwarding something. There are several ways to write email titles to make it clearer so that the person opening it would know immediately what it's about. The second pet peeve is actually my own. If you're writing to a coworker, someone who is not your friend, not your family member, you owe them a good subject line. By the way, did you know you can write email to PhD Coffee Time? So you can write any of your anonymous question here, and I may be featuring some of your question in the new video. Back to the subject line. I've already talked about the importance of creating a project abbreviation, such as Apollo and other abbreviation that recognizable by your coworker and your own file system. In the future, you need to search for your files or your email. This is going to be a search term that shows up. Just a little recap on my file system video. If you haven't seen it, please go and check it out. So as a habit, I always write the abbreviation of the project in the subject line. Be very concise with my subject line because you don't want to use more than 7 to 9 words in your subject line. Use the keywords such as manuscript, meeting summary, something to circulate. And I also like to use square brackets such as please circulate, resources, FYI. Sometimes people can just take a quick look and know that this is an email for action, or it is an email for the reference only. I also like to use square brackets to talk about deadlines. It can say due by December 5th. Please review my grant proposal as a first draft. Someone like to use square bracket urgent. It's only acceptable when you make it clear why it is urgent. It is urgent for that person, or is it urgent for you? When we are given space to write as an academic, we have the tendency to fill up all the space available and write as long as we could. When I write very long email subject line, this is what will happen. The whole line of title is actually going to waste because they will be replaced by ... in the end in the preview. A good way to practice is just send email to yourself and see how your email subject line shows up in your own mailbox, like what I'm playing now here. If you are having a no subject line, you are risking the fact that someone will forget about your email. If they are not at the right moment to reply you right away, they will struggle to find your email in the future and your email won't be answered. So I hope this is a good exercise that I have done for you to make a point that your subject line matter, and please put more thought into it. Make it searchable, make it relevant and self-explanatory. RJ has said, make sure to triple check your attachment. When you say you're attaching something, make sure there is an attachment. Also, make sure the attachment is the right attachment. And one trick I've learned is I always double check that document right before I attach, and I saved it at the last moment. So what you could do is sort everything by date modified. The most recent one has to be the one that you want to attach. So that could minimize your error in picking the wrong file just by sorting it through date. RJ also said if you're working with someone and you are not sure if that is his or her as a pronoun, make sure to try Googling that person first to find out if this is a his or her, if you're referring to that person by pronoun. And that comes to the next suggestion, is to be friendly to everyone that is working with you. We can provide our pronoun like it is part of our information in the end signatures of your email. And I didn't know this tip until this point. And Philip has said, when looking for a time to meet, make sure you don't just say let's meet. Put a few available time slots to tell people I'm available on these few hours of next week. What do you think? And then you will narrow down to picking a few options or one option. Then you can move everything forward and it saves everyone's time. Philip also mentioned all the action items has to have a due date and a timeline, which also comes to project management tips that I have covered. You can show your collaborator a Gantt chart. All the tasks can have a deadlines on Trello. And in emails, when you are typing a summary of meeting, make sure you type also the due date. I agree with Philip, this is an important practice. And if you're writing a long email, several people have said that you need to use bullet point. Micah, I hope I say the name right. Micah has said using a summary statement in the front of your email as well as the last sentence of your email, so that if people skim your email, they can clearly understand why you're writing this email. Dr. Courtney Given has given a good framework on how you can structure your simple email to your committee, your advisor, into these 3 bullet points. When you write email, make sure you're not too wordy. Have bullet points if you have to cover a lot of things. Be concise and reiterate the purpose of that email in the end. I also think it's important to have a due date. If anything is time sensitive and you want the reader to respond by a certain time, make sure to specify that date and tell them you want to have a response by a certain time. And as a general practice, you want to be polite and check your grammatical errors and do not be rude in your email, because sometimes a rude email can really cause delay, because if you are disrespectful in the email, the person could be hesitant to reply. And personally, I try to keep email more straightforward and ask more straightforward information. And if there is complications, I always try to have an in-person contact and Zoom call to resolve that. It will be more efficient so people don't sit at the computer for hours trying to respond to a difficult email. And it also helps communication, because written words only communicate 30% of all the message. And if you're reading the person and the body language, it helps you to comprehend the situation, and your communication can be a lot better. Bonus tip for those who stay until the end of the video. Did you know that you can schedule your email to be sent for the next morning at 8 a.m. or whatever date and time you pick? That way, if you have watched my video about avoiding working late at night, you can also facilitate this culture by making sure you send out the email during the working hours, so that your team, they won't feel overwhelmed by receiving an email 3 a.m. in the morning. And that will help everybody to maintain a healthier work-life balance and mental health during the PhD. I hope this video helps you, and thank you AcademicChatter for retweeting my post. And I think this was a really educational experience to hear from all the academics online. In the COVID time, if you are feeling isolated, I know there are many people who feel the same way. Try to use different social media platforms that can help you connect with someone. Try to schedule a one-on-one call after that if you know someone, and get engaged, so you're not staying home by yourself all the time. This is a difficult year, but I hope this fun interactive social media video is going to bring some joy and fun to this channel. If you have other videos ideas, don't hesitate to comment below. If you like my content, make sure to hit the subscribe button. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you the next time.